Will drugs be allowed in Harmontown? Yes, of course. I don't. You know.
Would there be some drugs that you would not allow?
No. There can't be any. Honestly, like we have a big problem in this country right now with like momentum. Like we are all freaked out because we go, oh shit, if you legalize this tomorrow, whether it's a certain kind of gun, and all this stuff makes perfect sense, but it's only given the situation that we have. That's why we have to start over. Because the truth is, hand grenades should be able to grow on trees, but we should have self-control. Like we can't, because what if some guy just in his garage invents a laser wand that if you touch people with it, their body just disappears. Does that guy get to be the most successful person in the world because he invented that? Because he can't be prosecuted for his crimes. He's just going to go up to people. You don't have any evidence to convict him. Like the mailman comes over and he goes, fuck you, I don't like your cheekbones. And he makes him disappear. Does that guy get to be president? Or is it wrong to hurt people and make them dead? It's obviously the latter. It's wrong to hurt people. We have to remember that that's really the star we're pursuing here. We can't get too hung up in how to make nobody hurt anybody. I told the story of I never told it again because we did record it and I'd like to put it on the website, but it's an old classic. It's my origin story. The story of how my dad beat the living fuck out of me and my brother for playing with matches. It's my radioactive spider. Because it explains almost everything I can think of about my me as I am. So my brother and I got caught playing with matches. My brother loved setting stuff on fire. He's fascinated with fire, and he was 5 years older than me. So we went out in the back bushes and we gathered some dry leaves, and he had a book of matches, and we were lighting little piles of twigs and stuff on fire. And my mom came looking for us, and she caught us playing with matches. So for this offense, as with all major ones, the misdemeanor was always the wooden spoon. My mom could handle that. She had a big bag of wooden spoons because they would break on your ass, just hit you. Got a lot of wooden spoon people in the audience. I can hear you. I can feel you. For the felony offenses, like playing with matches, big deals. It was wait till your father gets home. And my dad didn't get home until like 9 p.m. usually. He was a very hard worker, and a lot of his job seemed to involve some Southern comfort. So
you don't mean porch swings and.
So it's wait till your dad gets home. You got caught playing with matches. I'm telling you, this is going to be really bad, says Mom. My brother's freaked out. He didn't usually freak out very easily. This is a guy who once crawled out the bedroom window in his Spider-Man pajamas just to go fight crime. I admired his moxie. He didn't seem to be afraid of much, but he certainly he knew that we were in for it. My mom took me aside and said, Daniel, you know those little stories you like to write? Because I did like to write the little things that go, Dan Harmon and the Fabulous Time Tunnel by Dan Harmon. like just these scrawling, just write on typing paper and staple them together. I go, I wrote a book. Pay attention to me. Once upon a time, there was a bear in the bathtub. La. Pulitzer, please. I'm precocious. My mom goes, I want you to write one of your stories for me while you wait for your dad to get home. I want you to write me a story about a little boy that gets caught playing with matches and regrets it.
Was she not terrified for your safety? Like she's like, we need to mitigate the beating that's about to go on, or is she?
I feel like part of her was going, let's not lose the lesson, but I think most of her was going like, I want to fuck with you. I am basically the bad guy from Tango and Cash right now. I want to just kind of psychologically. I don't know. My mom's gonna listen to this and go, "That's not what I was doing." Fuck you. You're so old. How do you know? How do you know what you did? What'd you have for breakfast this morning, Mom?
As a special request, as the story continues, whenever she says anything, can you say it as Jack Palance?
from Tango and Cash.
Yeah,
I want you to write one of your stories. No, I'm not going to do that. But so I write stories, and I want you to write it about a little boy who gets caught playing with matches and learns to regret it. So I think in my head, if I tackle this adequately, this could be my ticket. So I do. I sit down and I write. Once upon a time, there's a little boy. I was like, just lose that fucking bear in the bathtub shit. This is the real deal, Harmon.
No, but it's who you are. It's who you are.
Write what you know. And a little boy got caught playing with matches, and then his dad came home, and I just went into all this detail about like where they're lighting leaves on fire, and they thought it was a good idea, but boy did they not know that it wasn't. And at the end of my story, the dad comes home. And he reads the story that the little boy wrote. See, this you're already getting it. This is why I got fired. It's like this is confusing. It's a story about a story.
You were meta even back then.
I think just lazy, but yes, it came to be called meta. At the time, we just called it zero research. At the end of the story, the dad comes home, reads the story, and realizes that the kid felt so bad for playing with matches that he didn't need his spanking. And I gave it to my mom, and my dad still wasn't home, and my mom just read it in silence. She went there, yeah, this is really good. I don't buy the ending. For real. Not kidding.
Third act problems.
Yeah. So I'm sorry I don't handle notes well. Sometimes it means I'm going to die inside.
But she's right. You should have said, and then my father came in and he kicked the shit out of me. And I called the police.
Right.
He's now serving 15 to 20 years in a minimum security prison. And
the neighbors came over and said, "What the fuck is going on? Yeah. No one else is doing this. You're insane. Yeah. This is like a horror movie." Yeah, my parents always said, like later when they, everyone's parents, if there's anyone in this room that's ever had like hands-on parents, the story, like they always go, they turn into little raisins, and they're fine. You play pinochle with them, and they're like, you can never that. But they always go like, it was the 70s. Everyone was doing it. And I'm like, name 3 people who were doing it. John McEnroe? What was that? What was that? Mary Lou Retton? Who was doing it in the 70s? Did you see it on a Wheaties box? What are you talking about? So yeah, then my dad came home, and the rest of the story is terrible. But I never got my spanking actually, because my brother's was so bad that there was a medical
Wait, was this a tonsil
emergency.
One?
Yeah. My brother had recently had his tonsils taken out.
Yeah,
so
shit takes a fucking turn.
And my dad often. I feel so bad if my parents listen to this, because they're good people. Everybody should understand that. Now that we're podcasting it, I feel like you can't.
I think the statute of limitations is over.
No, but not on their emotions. Like,
all right. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, you know what? It would be like hitting my parents with a belt to talk about. So it would hurt them at a very vulnerable time in their lives when they can't do anything about it.
How about this, Dan? Why don't you tell the story? We'll record it, but before we air it, and we have the option to edit it, have your mom and dad write a letter or a story. About a son who grows up to be a famous writer, has a podcast, and can fucking lampoon those cocksuckers.
Come on, you met my parents. You love them. They're great.
They're great.
Everyone's great. The whole world is great. It's how we end up in these rules where we're sealed off from each other, not understanding things, acting out. My dad came home. Matches. All right. Well, I know what I have to do because my dad's dad did it and his dad's dad did it. Never mind the fact that all these people are insane. My dad took off his belt, and he always had this catchphrase. He'd say, "This is going to hurt me a lot more than it's going to hurt you." But he was always so drunk he'd get it mixed up half the time, and just say the scariest thing in the world. This is going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt me. I know that. it's like it's terrible.
Yeah, and that's not the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
That's how cold I am and how.
It's like if a nurse said you're gonna feel a large stabbing in your arm.
You're gonna hate it.
And then the blood's gonna get siphoned out of your body. But just think of puppies burning while I do it.
Now, what kind of father do you think you would make if you had kids? Let's say you had two boys. Let's say like 5 years from now or 6 years from now, you've got a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. What kind of father do you think you're prepared to be?
I don't know, man. That really scares me. My girlfriend's in the audience, but I was telling you a story last week of how I was working on shelving units, and like Aaron was there, and I cut the shelves wrong at Home Depot, and they didn't fit for like the third time, back and forth, and I just I kicked shit and threw shit. Sometimes the cat, like, before I figured out what the cat was doing, like why it was meowing with turns out it had a toy in its mouth and it wanted to give me the toy. But like, so the cat would just meow constantly, and I would I'd get up and chase it. I'd be like, shut the fuck up! I get angry.
Because the cat was giving you notes? Because I don't know if you've ever met a 2-year-old. They give you
a
notes.
lot of notes. Yeah, they're not called the constructive twos. No, I'm aware of this. I've met my friends' children, and I've read all about it. And then it's only 13 years before they're adults that can really like Dino's daughter now, adorable little Tigger. I don't know if I'm allowed to say names of people who aren't even legally allowed to defend themselves. But I'm not going to say anything bad about her. She's a little woman now. We've known her ever since she was a little kid. Our friend Dino had a little daughter, and you used to just like. I remember when she loved Bananas Foster. It was a dessert that Dina would make for her, and so I would do a little character called Bananas Foster. And I'd go like, "Hey, I'm Bananas Foster," and I'd do a little dance, and she'd giggle. I was like a rock star.
Yeah.
And now she's just texting, and every once in a while I catch a cold glance, and she's like, "Blech." And I want to be like, "Fuck you, just because I'm not good at football." There's that too. Like kids, like you've only got 12 years before they're actually like when they hit puberty, they become like. Now they're rolling their eyes at you, and they actually have eyes to roll, and like using sarcasm and stuff. Like that's only 12 years after it was adorable for 1 year. It's I'm prepared.
Do you want to have children?
I do really badly, but I'm terrified that I'm not going to be able to handle it.
Was the whimper how you said that?
I feel. I really do. I'm terrified I'm going to be a bad dad, and I'm also I definitely the solution isn't to be one of these horrible pussy dads that are all over LA. You see people walking around Target and the kids just screaming their head off, and the people are just going like, "Martin, use your indoor voice," or whatever. Like come on, shame the kid.
Yeah,
it's public. Like my mom only had to have one conversation with me. Like she didn't need a wooden spoon for that. Like I said some shit too loud in a Target, and she was like, "You don't talk like that outside the house." And if she was allowed to, she would have said N-word. Like. It seemed like that was coming, didn't it?
Back in the 70s, everybody was doing.
There was only one conversation, and I was like, "We don't." My mom would say, and she would say it logically. Like I remember the logic seeping into my brain. We'd be in a movie theater, and it was like, "What if everyone was talking right now? Shut up."
Yeah.
I go, "Oh yeah, she's right. She's got a point."
I remember, like, I was at a friend's house, and I said something kind of rude in front of. Like the kids that I went to school with. It was like a new school for me. I'd moved into a new neighborhood, and I said something kind of cocky, or suspend your disbelief. I came in a little high on some kid. I probably said something kind of arrogant and shitty. And the mother, who I'd known, a few months, pulled me into the kitchen and just went whack across my face. Just
another woman slapped you, like not your mom. Is that what you said?
Some woman whom I will never remember her name. She just pulled me in the kitchen. Like, Jeffrey, can I talk to you? And I was like 12, and she just clobbered me across the face. And I was like, whoa! And she's like, "You're not better than my son."
Whoa!
And I was like, "Well, methinks ye protest too much." So
I love that's your takeaway.
No. So I'm fucking her. So long story short. And I mean fucking her, Dan.
Well, yeah.
I am really like...
She's getting that 12-year-old
sweet
vitamin JD. Right, should we do a? Should we do a? I remember one time when I was 12, around that age. I remember this odd. This actually bonded me with my mom in a way, like because I suddenly realized this cycle of abuse that was really happening. She told me to feed the cat, and I went, yeah, and I as I said that, I opened the closet door where the cat food was, and I bent over to grab the can of cat food, and I felt this unexpected sharp kick in my tailbone, like really hard, like Charlie Brown going for the football hard, like she just was put everything into it, but she wasn't Charlie Brown, and my tailbone was there. And if you've ever been kicked in the tailbone, and also just any kind of unexpected impact with your body, I had a can of cat food in my hand, and was 12 years old, so I'm like cusping, I have testosterone like starting to kind of go through my blood a little bit. I probably had a little wispy like Hitler mustache or something, like a little prepubescent like little wisp on my upper lip, and I instinctively, because some mammoth or saber-toothed tiger is like kicking me in the tailbone, I wheeled around hefting this object in my hand, this can of cat food. And this is 80s cat food. It used to come in big ass cans that you had to open with a device. They hadn't figured out how to portion them yet. And I turned around with this thing, and my mom, who had just kicked me in the tailbone, she made this sound and this face that was like, like she wilted, man. And it was like, oh, I get it. It's just like white trash, like larva becoming a bee, like I'm supposed to do this now. And I was like, what did you do? And she's like, I thought you were being snotty. Like she didn't know what she was doing, and she knew what I was supposed to do. And she was okay with it, and I literally broke that cycle there in the pantry that day for myself, because I was like, Jesus Christ, no, I'm not gonna bludgeon you to death like Chris Penn at the end of Shortcuts, and then have kids of my own and find a nice closet to store our cat food in. I'm not gonna keep doing this.